Hello and happy, beautiful day to you. Welcome to today's quick IQ episode where we talk about insights and questions. And today I have a really great question from a listener from one of the past podcast episodes. So she left a message, and I love her question, by the way, because I know that so many people have this question, and I've seen this come up so many times over the years. So her question says this. Basically, in short, she said she's finding the idea of not leaning into emotions a bit confusing. She said she's been reading a lot about the nervous system, and it is said it's important to learn how you feel and lean into whatever feels uncomfortable. And if you don't feel your feelings, they get stuck in the body. And so when I had mentioned, don't lean into the negative, she was like, well, this is confusing. It's opposite of what everybody else is saying. And I totally understand that. And I would say that there's a few things. First and foremost, I don't want to make anybody wrong. That's just not nice, right? But I want to say that the way that I've been able to get results is by doing things radically different. And that's the reason that I have gotten different results. I've been able to show people releasing their own pain under medical equipment using their mind. So it's very different results. And so I do things in a very different way. And so even starting with one awareness where she says that, if you don't do that, they could get stuck in the body. Well, when I think about it, the way I look at it is it doesn't make sense to me that emotions are stored in the body. When you think about it for a moment, if they were, and our bodies are constantly repairing and replacing and repairing and replacing cells, and, science estimates we have about a whole new skeleton approximately every 10 years, then it would seem that our emotions would then go if they're stored in the body, right? And so I would say more so the energy, the nervous system, of course, certain parts of the body have neurons and whatnot, so like the heart. And so I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag, but for the most part, when we think about it, this is a better way to think about it is like this also, is that a person with multiple personality disorder can have different illnesses in different personalities and completely different emotions in different personalities. And so if emotions being stored in the body were the biggest thing, then this would be impossible. We wouldn't see somebody with multiple personality disorder have different ailments or different personalities or completely different emotions. And so to me, I don't see emotions as being stored in the body. So that's one thing. Another thing is this, is that if we lean into emotions, our nervous system might start to get used to them, but that doesn't make them go away. So if you think about it, the nervous system might get more calm, but the brain can store them up more. It's like if we lean into the alphabet, is the brain it'll store it up more. If you lean into watching a film over and over and over, what's going to happen? If you get more and more used to it, more familiarity, it's just going to get more stored in the mind. Now, another thing is this, is especially for healing, when we stop and think about it, healing isn't just about changing emotions we're reactive to, because even if we look at data, loneliness has been linked to increased illness. Somebody can be not reactive to that. In fact, apathy can lead to death. When somebody is really they don't care. They lose interest in something. So to me, getting your nervous system to stop reacting to something isn't the win. It's not the healing. It's not the answer. To me, changing the emotions, really rewiring the mind is the answer. And that's what has worked really amazing for me. And when we stop and think about it for a moment, I kind of give you a little bit of example, even on my own journey. There was a point, I had all this nerve pain and also burning pain and all of these things. And so for a while, my doctors had wanted to try like a low dose antidepressant to see if it would help with some of the pain. And we did, and it didn't help. But anyways, the thought of going on antidepressants, I was very careful. I literally said, I don't want to become complacent and okay with that which I'm not okay with. You see people who have a hard time or have negative things going on in life, and they just accept it. They go, okay, well, I'm accepting it. This is the way it is. And so I didn't want to accept it. Now, of course, I didn't want my nervous system reactive. Instead, I wanted to become clear and in charge of my emotions and then transform my emotions. So I didn't tell my nervous system to get used to it, to lean into it. Instead, I said, wait a second, nervous system, we don't want these emotional patterns. Let's get rid of them. And so that is my biggest suggestion, is to really identify the specific things, the specific negative emotions, and then work on transforming those instead of telling yourself it's okay and to get used to them. I wouldn't be able to get the results that I help people get in that way. Now, if you ask me if I have ever seen anybody lean into their negative emotions and increase an illness, problem, or pain or issue, the answer is yes. In fact, I mentioned several times in my book, be careful not to go directly into the negative because you could increase the problem. You could increase the pain. And we can see that. I mean, if somebody has a feeling of anxiety and they increase it, what could happen? They could have increased panic attack. If somebody has even embarrassment and they increase it, what could happen? They have more of a blushing face. Or stress and they increase it, what could happen? Their blood pressure could go up. Or, even if you think about the widowhood effect, where a senior loses a spouse, that time right after is the time that it's, the emotions are most intense. And so getting used to emotions or non-reactive isn't the answer. We need to get rid of them because we can, like if you think about somebody who's really depressed and just in a state of apathy, it's not, they may not be responding at like, they may not be super triggered or responsive. They're just in a state of apathy. They can die from that, or even we've heard the phrase before that somebody can be bored to death. And so in my experience, getting the nervous system to not be reactive is not the solution. It's genuinely identifying and addressing the specific emotional patterns and then transforming them. And that's what's key. And so what I would say is leaning into the emotion can be counterproductive because the more we lean into it, then we tell our brain it's okay. Now we're ingraining it. We're welcoming it. We're making it more okay. And then we have to go to a place of then getting rid of it. So it's counterproductive from what I see. And so that's why I don't use it for healing. Now, again, that's my experience. I'm not here to make anybody else wrong. But I can tell you that the results that I've been able to get are radically different. And there's a reason why. And I do things in a very different way. And that's what's worked for me. And so that's why you'll see me over and over say, please don't go into the negative. Don't lean into it. Don't get your nervous system used to it. I mean, that's another key thing we'll want to think about is that if you think about all the volunteers when I work with people, even under medical equipment or just on the podcast, and when I work with volunteers and show them how to release their own pain, a lot of times people don't even realize the emotion is there. They've buried it so deep. And I did that in my own life. So I already had become used to the emotions. I wasn't triggered by them. I wasn't triggered by the emotions. It was very much deep inside of me. And so, in other words, getting used to the negative emotions, even in my case, I had done that, and a lot of people might do that. For example, sometimes people, they might have a feeling of, even if you think about something like, hurt, and they just walk around, or resentment, and, they might put a smile on their face and just walk around, and they're not reactive about it. They're not upset about it. In fact, I've had people say that very thing. I've had people say, Brandy, yes, I was annoyed with that. And now, you know what? I've just become okay with it. And I think I even did a podcast episode on that a while back, that exact thing. So becoming okay with the negative emotion, in my experience, does not help with healing. And so my suggestion is to definitely do it in another way. And it is to, instead of getting used to the emotion, what I have people do is I have people decrease it. And so you start decreasing the negative emotion and then transforming it. And basically that's my suggestion is decreasing the negative emotion, understanding why it's there, and then also transforming it. And it goes into even deeper specifics when we stop and think about it, because everything the mind does, it does for a reason. And so, for example, somebody may hold on to fear because they feel like it's keeping them safe. Or somebody might hold on to sympathy or wounding for that very reason. They say, you know what, I can't trust people. I'm holding on to this wounding. Now, would I tell them, hey, lean into that emotion? No, I would say, identify why your mind is holding on to it. Oh, it thinks it's keeping you safe. Okay, now we need to address this and change this. Holding on to hurt is not keeping you safe. And so, in my experience, again, it's identifying why the mind is even holding on to it and then letting it go. Because what happens when we stop and think about it is patterns breed more of the same. So if somebody's holding on to hurt and they're holding on to it thinking it's keeping them safe, unfortunately, hurt can breed more hurt can breed more hurt. So if we look at psychology, we can look at things like repetition compulsion, reenactments, attachment theory, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, re-victimization. You know, that it's well known that, you know, a woman with an abusive father may leave him and find the abusive boyfriend, boss, spouse, etc., etc. So those patterns can continue, and it all depends on how it's set up in a person's mind, but those patterns can continue, or somebody can experience a lot of rejection as a child and then experience more and more and more of it. And so I wouldn't say, well, just get used to those emotions and welcome them and just be okay with it. I would say, what's going on at a deeper level, and let's get rid of those emotions completely to transform them. And so that's ultimately what I would say, is make it a real change. You know, that's the key, is, you know, heal yourself, change your life. When you look at what is impacting you at a subconscious level and you heal it and you transform it, it becomes a life-changing gift, because then it's like whatever negative emotion or pattern or hurt or wounding or whatever it was that was impacting us, when we change it, we change what we're attracting. We change our lives. And so that, of course, is my biggest suggestion. All right. So that answers the question there. And by the way, guys, if you have any question that you think would be helpful for our community, please do send it in. I'd love to see more and more people get results. You know, if you think about it for a moment, all of the time, when we stop and think about it, healing with the mind has literally been written throughout every spiritual teaching. I mean, you think about it, it's even in the Bible where it says a merry heart is a medicine, ill thoughts will dry the bones. And it's in metaphysics and, you know, and all of these things, stress, psychoneuroimmunology. I mean, we can see it all around us. And my biggest hope is that it's our generation, is this time in the world, that we make it a reality, that more and more people are getting results and understanding how our minds work. And I would say, to do that, we must work with the mind in a different way. So that's today's insight. And I want to ask you, please do take a quick moment to hit the share button on this episode. You know, share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person is empowered and happy and healthy and loving and loved, the better this world is for all of us. And so please do hit the share button, and please do make a point to have a most wonderful, incredible rest of your day. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to Heal Yourself, Change Your Life. All of the time, people reach out and say how much these episodes have given them hope, or touched their heart, or helped them stay positive in hard times, or even woken them up to a completely new level of awareness of how amazing we all really are. If today's episode touched your heart or expanded your mind in any way, please do me a favor and be sure to share it with those you care about, or those you know who really need it. As more and more people become empowered, it really will change our world for the better. That is the point and the power of these demonstrations, is to create a radical shift in our world consciousness by showing everyone what we are all capable of. And of course, each volunteer will really need to follow through to reinforce their programming to maintain their results. But the point is for you to see that you really can create rapid results in your health and your life if you really understand how to use your mind. You're incredible. And I do want to be clear, though, that most people will not get results this fast on their own. I make it look very easy because of the discoveries that I made. You'll want to remember that there's so much more going on in our minds at a deeper level than people realize. That said, if you want to send me any questions or comments, come visit me on my website at BrandyGillmore.com/podcast. And if you're currently experiencing physical pain and would like to be a volunteer on the show, you can sign up there as well. Lastly, please remember, if you do have any health issues, you won't want to avoid your doctors. Instead, you'll want to continue seeing them and make it your goal to blow their minds with what you're capable of with your mind. Thank you.